garden.
When are you going back? Just the weekend. You fly back Sunday or Monday? Oh, so you're in the UK. Good to see you. How often? I saw you are together. Sorry, I thought you were engaged to each other. So you are married. But
Can we sort of gather in a little bit?
Well,
Right, everyone, it's all gone quiet.
what he doesn't know.
Well, I'd like to do a couple of you forward just to shake hands here with the guys.
I mean, is the offer to ride about the foot still open?
Yeah.
Can I smoke?
Come forward, don't be shy.
I don't need any money.
Yes.
Yes. There we go. This is the way. All right, nice smiles for everyone. Thank you. Let's do a couple there. And one more, please. Now it has gone quiet. Thank you very much. Okay, Steve. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Come back now, pick up the rest on the way, and then moving the column.
I think these are pictures just
Get out of your shop.
for the library. Why do you say that? Very seriously? Because I was an author.
Like to come through?
Thank you.
Well, to start off with, my spine was
Hang on, Ricky. I'm going to set my phone on. Guard duty, I've got your stuff. Oh, when they were going back, I don't know. I hope you didn't go. Smile, please. Philip smashed his finger and it was on some call.
God, no, scary black. They disappeared there.
go ahead. Another one.
There's a picture of Mark Simister up here.
There's one there as well. Everywhere.
Oh, good for him. If only we'd have got a few more photographs. We'd have put them in.
They're all coming home now. Bankers.
Oh, you did a long letter, didn't you? There's someone else got about 2 sides. What have we got? That postcard.
It's one of those things off the telephone.
That was when you realised. Oh gosh, it's hard for you. I'm down on the top. Didn't that yeah. I'm trying to remember the other couple who were on. Was it Davis? Was it somebody Roberts? Oh, could have been. I know that his name. No, I think we had it wrong, but they told us to. Yeah. Oh, that had to do yeah. Doing it all wrong.
Jones, yeah, there's a riddle. He went right in the middle of the desert, didn't he? Right there. The Iraqis had to move him in here. They took him back to Christmas, they took him back to Baghdad, set him up. Yeah. They all said, mate, I said, you're going to go on in the street. What do you so mess around. They do, you know, they don't want to sit down, they just burn them on the road.
You've got fishermen out in Scotland are not allowed to go to sea.
Then he went to Germany, then he challenged. He went out on the winter moves in Germany, American They come to a whole wine night, I said, put the oil over and the canvas having us. And he woke up and it's crawling. So he tried to make they didn't know. So what they said
That's all that's
SAS.
That's the most important thing. I don't mind smoking.
How many photographs have we got of you? No, he said he's got a good career.
Women of action. There is so much I would like to say this evening. However, for two reasons. One being emotion, and the second being loss of memory, that I cannot express myself. And when I come to the loss of memory, it reminds me of the old man who spent about 48 hours in the park, and the police has passed the first day, and they saw this old man, about 80, crying his eyes out. The following day they passed by, and they couldn't ignore anymore. He was still crying. One of the policemen went near him and said, "What's your problem, Dad?" He said, "Well, Sammy," he said, "I met this beautiful Swedish blonde, 28 years of age. I spent a wonderful week." He continued to cry. He said, "What's the problem?" "I have forgotten where she lives." Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm suffering from this evening. However, I remember two things. Sorry, I have forgotten. I have been asked to welcome you here, and dealing with the press today, I'm not going to deviate. I know the first joke will not be published, so I'm going to follow my written speech in case Steve ever dares misquote.
It's on the video this time, okay?
To those of you who were with us for lunch on the 25th of February, may I say welcome. Welcome back. And to those who were away fighting in the Gulf, may I extend a very warm welcome and say you are the pride of your regiments, your county, your country, and last but by no means least, your families. My wish for all you now is the happiness you so richly deserve, and also to thank you for a difficult job. Very well done. Now may you all fulfill your ambitions and share with your loved ones your safe return, and thank you all for defending us all and the rights of all democratic countries. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pray silence for Mr. Simon Burns, who will respond on behalf of the guests.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a particular honour and pleasure for me to be invited to respond on behalf of the guests at this splendid evening tonight. I do have a slight confession to make, because I suspect that you are all suffering under the misapprehension that if you give a politician an opportunity to speak, he will pour for Britain until even he dislikes the sound of his own voice. Well, I can assure you that I don't intend to speak for that long tonight, because frankly, on occasions like this, even politicians get nervous. And at this precise moment, I am feeling somewhat like a very young British diplomat who was serving in the embassy in Beijing in the mid-1960s. And one day, to his absolute horror, he found himself sitting next to that great world statesman Mao Zedong. And he got terribly hot under the collar, as I am at the moment, because he was terrified that whatever he said to this great man would be so inadequate that he'd commit some ghastly diplomatic faux pas. And so he stood there, absolutely speechless, racking his brain for something moderately intelligent to say. And finally, he turned to Mao with what he thought was the most intelligent thing that he could think of, and said, "What do you think would have happened if Mr. Khrushchev, rather than President Kennedy, had been assassinated in 1963? And there was utter silence. And this poor boy thought that he had done what he'd worked so hard not to do. But what he didn't know, as far too often I don't know, is that wise men always think before they speak. And finally, Mao turned to this man and said to him, "I don't think that Mr. Onassis would have married Mrs. Khrushchev." Ladies and gentlemen, there are many, many of you here in this room tonight who understand far better than I do the qualities and the meaning of leadership. I'm amazed, even now, that the odd constituent of mine writes to me asking for my views or my advice on leadership. I always think, in the light of the events of the 20th of November last year, that to ask a Conservative Member of Parliament his views or his beliefs on leadership is singularly inappropriate, because I don't think many Conservative Members of Parliament appreciate it. In fact, to share a secret with you very briefly, you may remember, or for those of you who are in the Gulf, this probably comes as some news to you, but on the evening of Wednesday, the 21st of November, Mrs. Thatcher invited each member of her cabinet into the cabinet room individually to ask them what they thought she should do next. And if history is to be believed, of the 19 cabinet ministers who went into that room, 12 told her that she should resign, and 7 said that they would go to the wall with her if she went to a second ballot. I'm told that given the mood that she was in after she'd seen her loyal cabinet, that if she'd been left there with a bottle of whiskey and a pistol, she'd have drunk the whiskey and shot the first 12 men who walked in. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said originally, it is a great pleasure and honour to propose to speak on behalf of the guests. I think that first, we all must thank Robert Bartella and the staff at Pontlands for the magnificent way in which they have entertained us tonight and on a previous occasion. We all are indebted to you, Robert, for what you have done, and we are extremely grateful for what you have done. Secondly, I think that all of us, not only the people in this room, but also the people in Chelmsford, owe a debt of gratitude and thanks to the Essex Chronicle. I know from constituents who wrote to me during that crisis the support they felt they got from the newspaper coverage, not the sensational, not the trivial, but the responsible, the factual, and the human interest stories that made it so vivid for people here in Chelmsford and brought home to people in Chelmsford that there were people from the local community and from Essex who were laying their lives down on the line for their country and for what we all believed was a just cause. I believe also that we owe a debt of gratitude to the Chronicle for not forgetting it as soon as that crisis passed. And I think that it is symptomatic of their care and their generosity that we are all here tonight, because they do care, and they have remained caring long after many people would argue it was not necessary for them to bother anymore. And so I think we would like to thank the Essex Chronicle for the splendid news service that they did, for all the help they did in getting people to write to soldiers, air forcemen serving in the Gulf during that problem. We are indebted to you all, and thank you very much. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, sadly, there are some people who cannot be here enjoying this celebration this evening because they are still with their units, whether it be in West Germany or elsewhere where our armed forces serve. And I think that we should remember them as we are enjoying ourselves this evening and think how sad it is that for different reasons they cannot be with us this evening. They may not be in this room with us, but they are certainly in spirit with us. And for any of you here who see them in the coming weeks and months, I would be grateful if you could pass on to them what an enjoyable
Ladies and gentlemen, please pray silence for Mr. Harry Levy, Managing Director of the Essex Chronicle series, who will speak about the paper's role.
Thank you. Simon, thank you very much. Compliments to the press. Very, very well received. Thank you very much. Robert Bartella, when he spoke earlier, spoke in his very brief and modest way, as usual. But Robert made a promise at our first Gulf Families Luncheon. That promise would be that he would host at his superb hotel here at Pontlands a dinner, not only for the Essex Gulf families that attended the luncheon on that splendid day that's already been referred to, but also for the people that were serving at that time. And about at that time, I would remind everybody to liberate Kuwait, because when the luncheon was thrown, we actually didn't know what the position was. We were all very nervous. At that time, on that day, we were, however, full of pride, totally confident that the outcome of the conflict had still not been resolved. And that pride, that confidence in those serving forces proved to be entirely justified. But I would like to suggest, Robert, Simon, that we name tonight as our Thanksgiving dinner. Thanksgiving because I feel that the word victory, in my view, can only be applied when Saddam himself has been toppled and his evil regime brought to an end for good. We know if the Allied forces had been allowed, for various reasons, to do the job, we would certainly have done so. However, we have good reason to give thanks, I feel. None of the loved ones of Essex were seriously wounded or worse during the conflict, but we did not come away entirely unscathed. There were, in fact, some battlefield injuries. I think we should remember those as well this evening. Without striking too sombre a note, we all remember at all times those few who did not return at all, as well as the poor Iraqi conscripts and civilians who suffered and continue to suffer at the hands of that madman. As you know, the Chronicle launched its Gulf Link news desk under the auspices of the gentleman that has got the wrong side of me now, I think. Is that all right, Steve?
Just now.
Under the auspices of our news editor, Steve Clow, with the intention of sending copies of our newspaper, the local newspaper, to those serving in the Gulf, as our way of maintaining contact with home. I think at this stage, here and now, I would rather like, if you don't mind, to pay tribute to Steve and to his staff and the people at the Chronicle under our editorial director who set this up and have worked incredibly hard ever since. And Steve has in fact done the odd thing this evening as well, as you probably noticed. So if you could please pay thanks to Steve Clow and the editorial staff of the Chronicle, I would be most grateful. We felt that the county's leading newspaper should in fact be playing its part to help keep up morale. Simon and some of the people tell me this evening, and I can remember myself, that when you are out in the desert, miles away from all conveniences, with nothing to hand, quite often a newspaper comes in handy. However, I'm sure the Chronicle was not always used for those reasons. We felt that in providing this link, we were as well helping those that were serving at home. And I think I would like to pay tribute to all of you here and now personally, the families, the mothers, the fathers, the sweethearts who were serving at home as well, because we know, don't we, Robert, how nervous and how people were feeling on that luncheon on that day. On February the 25th, under Robert's patronage, the Essex Gulf Families Luncheon was held here at Pontlands. Friendships were forged on that day. A bond was sealed on that day. That bond is that when the chips are down, and the sons and daughters of the county of Essex, and the loved ones of the county of Essex, are called to serve their country, either at home or abroad, we genuinely hope you do feel that the Chronicle is there serving with you, and it always will be. At that famous luncheon that I keep referring to, the Chronicle presented roses to the ladies on that day, and I sincerely hope we're going to be doing something like that today as well. We also gave free telephone cards, British Telecom telephone cards to help with calls to the Gulf.
And Mercury.
And Mercury, thank you, Steve.
Just in case.
You've probably seen that Steve has been busily flying around giving out little boxes. And I would just like to end by saying that with the compliments of the Essex Chronicle, we would like those that were serving in the Gulf to receive from us an Essex Chronicle commemorative medal, which if you open it, and I believe Steve has sworn you not to open it until this time, I do hope you'll find the message there appropriate. I can't open it, Steve.
Oh.
And we do hope it's something that you will receive in the spirit that it's been given. And lastly on that point, we have got a special one for a special person that has been the driving force behind all this. But Robert, with the compliments of the Essex Chronicle, would like you to receive one of those too.
Thank you.